let's get straight to it. Water pump replacement on a 2013 Dodge Charger. This is the 5.7. Underneath the car, we're underneath, and we're getting ready to drain this radiator. You can see this valve right here. I have to gotta turn this counterclockwise. It could be kind of stiff to turn it with your fingers, so if you can't get that, use a pliers or something, and then use that to turn it. And make sure you have something underneath, of course, to catch the coolant. So that made it turn a little bit. Now I can use my hand and finish it off. Pause. There we go. While our coolant is draining, we can go ahead and remove this bolt here and the one right down here, because the coolant level, well, this is the top, so with the coolant draining out, there shouldn't be anything up top right now, so we can go ahead and get those bolts out. Those are two 13 millimeters. So now we can move this away from the thermostat. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna get a zip tie and tie this off somewhere over here. Give me 1 second. And so I tied it off from here. There's a hole, of course, where the bolt went, and conveniently there's like a little lobe over here. So I used a wire, but you can use a zip tie or a wire. And now we can clearly see our thermostat. That's got a lot of heat on it, I can tell. So you can just grip it and try to pull it out. If you can't get it out by hand, use some pliers and just grab it right here. It's the old one anyways, you're replacing it. So once we get it out, just remember that it goes in with the long side in, and this has a rubber gasket on there. So hopefully the new part has a rubber gasket for you. This needs to be removed, so let's get this harness undone here. And you can use a flathead here or an 8 millimeter to get this loosened. And there's another clamp over here. Get those loosened and we can remove this whole tube. With that removed, now I can see clearly. I can see my water pump. This is the top of the water pump here. I need to remove that bolt there. There's another bolt here. I have a new coolant temperature sensor to go in here, so I won't be removing this. But if you don't, then all you need to do is put a wrench on this counterclockwise and that comes out. Of course you want to take off this harness here, but let's see if this is gonna come off easy. I'm gonna have to snap this up with a flathead. All right, and then there's a screw, a bolt here, another one here, another one right down here, and so forth and so forth. I'll show you more as we get down there. We're gonna have to get this 10 millimeter out so we can pull this hose out of here. And there's a bolt here, and of course we're gonna have to get this belt off, and there's a hose to be removed down on this side. I have a simple serpentine belt remover tool here attached right here on the tensioner. You can also fit a wrench down there if you don't have a serpentine remover tool. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this belt off now. This is a good time to inspect your belt. I don't see any cracks on mine, so mine's good to go. Now my belt's removed, so the water pump is free. Let's remove this right here. I already pushed this red tab back. Once you peel this red tab back, you can go ahead and press this harness in and get that off and set that out the way. All right. To remove the tensioner, it's a 16mm bolt. You can actually use a regular wrench to get in there. It's going to be tight, but you can get in there. But the perfect tool to use for me is this little offset wrench here with this little longer neck. You can reach down further. So I'm going to go ahead and get this off, get this bolt out, and remove this tensioner. Once we get that off, just set it to the side and leave the bolt inside. Now we can bring our attention to this pipe right here. Remove that 10mm bolt, and then we'll start to wiggle that out. There should be an O-ring on the inside of that pipe that seals that coolant in there. So if you have an O-ring to replace it, then you don't have to worry about being as gentle. But if you're thinking about using that O-ring, then you have to be real gentle when getting this out. What I'm doing is I'm getting behind this with the flathead, and I'm gonna slowly pry that out. Yeah, just like that. You can see that O-ring I was talking about. I think I'm gonna just take that O-ring out and get it sized up and replace it. Let's get this idler pulley off here. This looks to be a 13mm bolt. So let's remove that one bolt and we can take this whole pulley off. You can see the hose clamp right there. You can either get the hose clamp off now, or once you remove all these bolts and loosen it up, it'll be easier to get to that hose clamp. All right, so I just went ahead and took the hose off. So it's off now. I can actually start to remove my bolts. So I want to start from the top, hit these three here, and then work my way around clockwise. A trick that I like to do to make me remember which holes each bolt goes into, because a lot of them are different sizes and you don't want to mix them up, is I like to go to the new part for reference. Once I get the old bolt out, I'll drop it into the same place that I took it out of, so I know where that bolt goes. So once I take this bolt out, I'll drop it right in here so I know where it goes. Then once I get the old part out, I'll swap them back to the old part so I can reference it to the new part. So I have all the bolts out and I set them in my new one. That way I can know where all the bolts go. So now I can go ahead and yank this old one off, just like that, slowly. Of course, it's still leaking out some that was sitting up there, but not too much. Go ahead and slowly work this part out, just like that. And now the old part is out. You can see how terrible that gasket was. That's where it was leaking from. Now we have a lot of material to clean up here. I'm going to use a razor to scrape, not scrape, but you know, glide this off. And if you don't trust yourself with something sharp like a razor, then you can just use a rag and something else to try to get most of this off. And once it's clean, we can go ahead and try to put our new one on. I have my mating surfaces cleaned up, and as far as the new part, of course, like I said, I have the new part to go in here.